Hey everyone, and welcome to the Nerd Room, where we talk all things comics and movies. This is episode number 44. We're discussing all the recent Star Wars news. I'm your host, Tim.
I'm Troy.
Yes, it is the month of Star Wars, the year of Star Wars.
Yeah,
it's
it really is.
Star Wars feel right now.
Like a renaissance going on with Star Wars all over again.
Yeah, we're talking right before the podcast, so we're both very much in tune with Star Wars right now.
Completely. I'm invested, man. From the video games, the books, going back to Clone Wars a little bit even here, like just all in.
That's why we're going to talk Star Wars today. We're going to talk everything from the cinematic universe that they're building, from the Obi Wan movies to Rogue One, all the way through into the end of the Darth Vader comic series.
Yeah.
So we're going to be running down all sorts of the different news that's dropped in the last week or two, and there's been a lot of it, particularly even revolving around The Force Awakens too. Mm-hmm. But before we get into that, let's run down a little bit of news.
Of course.
Doctor Strange drops here in a few weeks. We have now got our tickets to the Thursday night showing. I have not watched a trailer in quite some time, but my wife watched a trailer the other day. I asked her, I said, can you watch this? I want an honest reaction. Does this look good?
Yeah.
And I was watching her face, and she legitimately enjoyed this. She's not a big fan of Inception or anything like that. She does like the Marvel Universe. She has no clue who Doctor Strange is, and she thoroughly enjoyed the trailer and the visuals.
Visuals look great. Is she a Harry Potter fan?
Yes, she is.
Okay, cool. So that might catch her. Maybe this will have those elements.
Yeah, but when I asked her the other day, I said, are you interested in going seeing the movie on opening night? And she's like, nah, not really. I'm not super interested. I have no idea who this is. The whole mystical thing doesn't interest me.
Right.
But now after seeing this trailer, she wants to come with.
Awesome. Well done, Marvel.
Exactly. And it's interesting seeing someone that, yes, is somewhat invested because of me, more or less, in the Marvel movies. But again, seeing someone like an Ant-Man or Doctor Strange or whatever, different characters, and how they're pulling people into this by making it look different, by making it look more like a spectacle.
That's right. And Marvel's been doing such a good job with that, going back to their Netflix series even too, right? From teenagers to my parents, your parents. I mean, just a whole demographic of people Marvel's been reaching out to, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I was talking to your in-laws a couple weeks ago at your place, and your father-in-law was just freaking out about Luke Cage and the Marvel Universe and how much he loves all of this.
That's right. From Daredevil to Jessica Jones to now Luke Cage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're doing something right.
They are. And the early tracking numbers are out for Doctor Strange. So it's tracking to do about $55 to $75 million. So right in line with what we thought it was when we did our initial predictions 4 or 5 episodes ago. And so I think we should stay with our predictions kind of in that range. High end, maybe $85 million. Yeah. And this is more or less in line with an Ant-Man or a new comic book movie character, like your Thor's, your Captain America's, and that. So Ant-Man scored a $57 million opening and went on to do $500 million globally.
Nice. What do you think worldwide this will reach then, maybe?
I think it'll go over the $500 million mark. I think this is going to capture a lot of people. It does run into the new Harry Potter movie.
Yes.
And it's also opposing Trolls, which is, I think, a DreamWorks animated feature.
Okay.
So you're running up against family audiences and that, and you're getting in a time of year or two where this probably won't have the legs that a movie in early summer or late summer does.
Right.
But at the same time, I think it's going to do really well in its opening weekend.
I think so too, and quite the cast, right? It's probably a bigger cast than Ant-Man's, apart from Michael Douglas, right?
Definitely,
so huge, yeah.
And they released the runtime of this, so this is going to be one of Marvel's only movies to be under 2 hours long. Wow. And I think this is going to benefit it to some degree, that we're not having people sitting in the theaters for a new character with very different elements for over 2 hours. And when running down the other comic book movies from this year, Batman vs. Superman was over 2.5 hours, Civil War is about the same, Suicide Squad was just over 2 hours, and Deadpool, one of the breakout hits, was 1 hour 45.
So that's perfect for Deadpool, isn't it? Yeah.
Having that slim runtime, I think, really benefits it. Condensing the story, it's not dragging anything on. You're probably getting a lot of the action sequences earlier than you would get with a 2.5 hour long movie.
That's right. And keep that budget tight.
Exactly. And this doesn't warrant a 2.5 hour movie. I think it's going to be swift. We get through the origin story, and then we get into the action, we get into present day.
That's right.
And there's some discussion, I know we've talked about this before, about Doctor Strange and where this exactly sits in the cinematic timeline. And there were some hints revealed by Kevin Feige and company that this is going to be a continuum from Iron Man 2-ish timeline.
Cool.
Right through to present day. So like we had talked about before with this, more or less a training montage where he's training for years. It's not something that he picks up over, weeks. It's going to be a long process that's condensed within the movie.
Love that aspect. Yeah. Great.
And they also classified 2 Marvel trailers. So Guardians of the Galaxy 2. So it's looking to be about a 1.5-minute long trailer, as well as Logan.
Nice. Minute 46?
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're looking at teaser trailers with that length, not getting too much footage there. And it's potentially attached, at least one of them, to Doctor Strange.
Great. Yeah, that makes sense, though.
Yeah. So with Wolverine or Logan coming out in next March. We need to get something soon here.
Definitely.
And they've been releasing a lot of image. Have you seen the images of Stephen Merchant's character? I think it's Caliban that he's portraying.
Okay, no, I haven't seen that one yet.
So he's got all this white makeup on. He looks kind of like Caliban-ish.
Yeah.
Which is weird because Caliban was in X-Men Apocalypse.
So again, this timeline.
Yeah, it hasn't been officially confirmed that's who he is, but being that Caliban is essentially a mutant that can sense other mutants in this time frame could be a valuable asset to a Logan or someone else, right?
That's right. Really want to see the Mr. Sinister look. I think that'll be a big reveal.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're going to get that in this first trailer. Maybe just a
Probably
glimpse.
not. Maybe, yeah. Maybe just a chin strap.
Yeah. What do you think we're going to get in the Guardians 2 trailer?
I don't know. I think we might get a little bit of revelation of that scene that they've been talking about with that big octopus dog-looking thing. I wouldn't be surprised if we got a couple little shots of that, especially because you did mention you think that'll be something earlier on in the film, right?
I pretty much think it's going to be the opening sequence. This is going to be your reintroduction to the characters. You're going to be fighting something ridiculous. You're going to have really cool music playing in the background. Yeah. And I think this trailer is really going to leverage off that. It's going to remind you what you loved about Guardians and what you loved about these particular characters and not really give much else away. You might get a slight glimpse at Ego the Living Planet.
Oh, Kurt Russell,
yes. And maybe a few others, maybe Mantis and some of the other characters to get your mind going and be like, oh, there's new characters coming into this.
Right.
But I think it's going to be really focused around our main cast and reintroducing them and just reminding you that, yes, this is going to be a kick-ass movie.
And lots of Groot, I'm sure, because that's their thing. Groot was a huge hit.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we'll get a lot of baby Groot.
Yeah,
at least.
adolescent Groot, something like that.
So also we did get news dropped of Spider-Man's Tom Holland. So Tom Holland in a movie that he's promoting, I'm not too sure what it's called, but basically he announced that Spider-Man may or may not appear in Avengers Infinity War. So they haven't quite negotiated all the deals and how it works out between Marvel and Sony, because obviously they do share the character, but he does ultimately belong to Sony for the film division. So we don't know if he's going to end up in Infinity War. My guess is I'm pretty sure we will see him. He did talk about Spider-Man 2 and the potential villain there, but they just haven't announced that he's going to be in Infinity War.
There's been a lot of talk about Infinity War lately, and that's stuff that we've talked about in previous podcasts. But because we're going into Doctor Strange promotion mode, and because this begins filming soon, and you're getting all these other characters popping up in the cinematic universe, people are asking questions, even down to, is Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, are these guys going to be in this movie? And they're so cagey about it.
Right.
And
no pun intended?
Yeah. I wish that was intended. Not that smart. But I just think that there's going to be so much speculation up until the moment. There's talks that Chris Pratt is going to be heavily involved in Infinity War. There's talks that Brie Larson's in it in a big way. That's what we'll be hearing introduction. And also that the Captain Marvel movie is more of an origin story, but it's stuck in between the two big Avengers movies.
Right, okay.
And it's how all of this unfolds. Because of the shifting movies, because of the Spider-Man acquisition, we had to move Captain Marvel in between. I say we like I'm part of the studio. We had to move Captain Marvel in between the two Avengers Infinity Wars, or whatever they're called now, Avengers 3, Avengers 4.
Right.
And that has implications for how the story is strung through that movie. You can't ignore what's going on in the background there, right?
Definitely not. You definitely have to have your heavy hitters, though, right? And Spider-Man being one of them. And also, I think the Russo brothers, a couple months back, did talk about 67 characters to choose from.
Yeah.
So how could Spider-Man not be on that list? Granted, he is still Sony, like we mentioned, but I'm pretty sure he'd have to show up in this movie.
Well, and I think the reception that Spider-Man got in Civil War, and the fact that the Russos are producing this, Kevin Feige and crew have had a big hand in producing the solo outing. The fact that Sony wants to pull back and be like, yeah, maybe we're going to, step on our contract a bit here, and maybe not follow through with everything, I think would just be silly. They've got something really good going now.
Yeah.
They've got a good following. Everyone's forgotten about the past, about the missteps with the universe and all that. And they've got Tom Holland. They've got a really good introduction into the MCU. They can leverage off of that. Why would they go stepping all over it? I don't even know why they would even consider doing other standalone movies that are somewhat connected to the universe but somewhat aren't.
Blame Avi Arad. This guy's a whack job, in my opinion. He's done a couple Spider-Man movies. He's the producer of a lot of these Spider-Man movies, and he makes some pretty interesting decisions. I wouldn't be surprised if it's him maybe, trying to hold on to that character of not appearing in some of these movies, but there's money to be made, right? So, like I said, I'm sure he's going to show up in in the future installments.
Yeah, and that's just it. I just really hope that they don't use the money to be made card here. These are our characters. We have the rights to them. We're going to do whatever we want.
Right.
And really go and mess up. Because it's going to be hard for Marvel to separate out Spider-Man, Tom Holland.
Right.
If they go and have Tom Holland in other movies and then saying, well, this movie's not part of it.
Yeah.
And kind of doing an Incredible Hulk thing to some of the movies and only including some of the pieces.
Right. And like featurettes of the character.
Yeah, really confusing for people.
It would be, yeah.
And especially considering they spent so much time crafting this universe and making it so it's more or less cohesive. Yes, there are missteps and bumps here and there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they've really driven us home that this is what they were building. And having Spider-Man supplement this universe now, I think can only benefit both studios.
Exactly. Completely agree.
Stepping over into the DC cinematic universe, there was an interesting tease that Joel Manganiello, who is playing Deathstroke in the Batman movie, teased. And whether or not it's a joke or not, I think it's still yet to be seen. But he did tease the idea that Anna Kendrick could potentially be our first female Robin.
Yeah, that's interesting. I first caught news of this when I saw the video of Ben Affleck and Anna Kendrick on the Accountant movie. And they made some playful jokes there, and she basically was, begging Ben Affleck to be in this movie. But it's all fun and games. But I don't think we're actually going to see a female Robin anytime soon. I don't know if we're even going to see a Robin anytime soon, because it's hard enough to pull that character off in the cinematic universe with his age.
Yeah.
I mean, if you make Robin too old, then it's not really Robin. And if you do the Nightwing origin without the Robin origin, then you're not really doing the character service. So I don't think we're going to see that.
No. It'd be an interesting take. Would you prefer, instead of a female Robin, more of a Batgirl or Batwoman?
Yeah, completely. Yeah, we've got great characters. Like Batwoman, Spoiler, Batgirl, or Orphan. That's in the new 52/Rebirth. Yeah. Great characters. So I'd love to see that. Yeah.
I think that's a direction that they could leverage on if they do have success with Wonder Woman. And again, coming back to strong female leads in their cinematic universe and having a Batgirl or Batwoman done right, which was never really done properly from the Batman and Robin.
Yeah, Alicia Silverstone.
Yes, exactly. And we do see good portrayals of her in the comic book. There's some great stories to leverage on there. And I think they could really be successful and bring it into more of maybe a more mature universe.
Yes.
As well. We're not starting off with a younger woman or anything like that. We're a very experienced Batgirl, maybe someone that's been around. I don't know.
Yeah. And my thing is, my little philosophy, like I'm some big-time film director. I'm not. But I always feel if you're going to introduce a superhero, you got to introduce the original first before you start branching off. And I think Ant-Man did the best with Michael Douglas playing like a younger Ant-Man, so he still was the true Hank Pym, and then you passed it over to Scott Lang after, right? That's kind of the smartest way to go about doing it.
Do you think that's why Marvel didn't go the Miles Morales route?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because like something like Spider-Man or Batman, you can't skip Batman, Bruce Wayne, and go right into Batman Beyond. Yeah, right? You got to give us the original first. Yeah.
So I was really campaigning for a Miles Morales.
Yeah.
I thought that's for sure the way they're going to go.
Right.
We're going to clean slate this. We're going to get away from what's been done before and try something different.
Right.
I'd be interested to see if they leverage that idea in the new movies, because there's hints that we're going to get at least something that points in that direction eventually, right?
That's right.
With the characters that they cast and the characters from the comics that are in the movies.
Right. I'm hoping so. Give me Prowler first and then give me Miles. I'm totally on board, though. I'd love to see that happen.
And for the third week in a row, we were reporting that Justice League has officially wrapped.
Yeah. It's official this time.
I think it's officially official this time.
Yeah, it's officially.
Every time I read a report, I'm like, oh, Justice League is wrap shooting again? So it appears they finished what they were doing on Iceland, and there's a few pictures that Aquaman, can't remember his name, Khal Drago.
Yeah, Jason Momoa.
Thank you. He's an enormous human being, by the way.
Huge. Yeah.
So he looks like he's having a blast on set. I really hope that shows through in his character, and we don't get just a stoic prick of an Aquaman.
Yeah, have a little fun with the character.
Exactly. Yeah. Have a little fun and let him inject some of that energy into the character. So it looks like Batman was also on set here in Iceland. I don't know what Iceland is doubling as. Yeah. I don't know if it's doubling as some sort of Atlantis or what's going on there. Because again, I still don't have any idea what this movie's about.
Yeah, I have no idea.
With all the teasers that we've got and all the character introductions and the vignette that we got last week showing the behind the scenes footage, no idea what the hell this movie's about.
No idea. I mean, obviously it's just the origin story of the whole crew coming together, but we don't really know the threat they're taking on, and we don't really know why they're all coming together. Yeah.
I will say that Jason Momoa's energy has really got me interested in Aquaman.
Yeah.
I'll say that more so than even the videos, the footage. him showing up on set and having fun, that's got me interested in what he can do for that character, because he's talking about how well Zack Snyder's done, the writers, the producers, the cast, and all that, and so that really intrigues me. We've got the same feeling from Suicide Squad when they were filming. They all seem to have a blast on set. They want to do a sequel together. The chemistry is good. You could feel some of that on film, but again, it was the editing. So hopefully we get a little more, or maybe a little less, Zack Snyder and a little more Ben Affleck and the characters coming through here.
Yes.
And letting them do their own thing, show their chemistry on screen, show what they can do, rather than trying to point them in a certain direction by cutting the film in a certain way.
Yes. Yeah, completely agree.
And also with the end of filming in Iceland, we did get our first image of Mira.
Yeah, so she's like the love interest of Aquaman, obviously. And her costume looks very New 52/Rebirth accurate. It's pretty cool. I'm not too familiar with the actress. But going off of that, I'm pretty excited. I have to give my my biggest thanks to DC, my biggest thanks, that the costumes have been very comic accurate. You know, going back from Man of Steel, which kind of had the New 52 look. Batman is the best costume I've ever seen for that character in the movies. Wonder Woman looked great. And then we have Mira, and I really like the new take on Aquaman's look.
I agree. Aquaman looks fantastic.
Looks so cool. Yeah. I really like it. And, you know, the Suicide Squad costumes... maybe that is my least favorite approach, but everything else looks pretty cool. So yeah, I'm excited with Jason Momoa's energy, new footage of Mira. I mean, it looks good.
Yeah, and coming back to Aquaman's costume, I like that they've gone with something a bit more... And again, we always say maybe step away from the dark and gritty, but I think they need to go in this direction with Aquaman and not have an orange and green and whatever color, gold. He needs something that looks a bit more, I think, serious. Other than what they do have in the comics. And I think they're really going to benefit from going in that direction. Having even the dark hair, I think it makes him look more intimidating. Yeah,
for sure. And he's an intimidating person, the actor. And you know, this look of his is kind of like the mid-90s Aquaman, where he like lost the arm and had like the hook. He had the long blonde hair, the long beard. Yeah. It's kind of a little reminiscent of that. So whether he'll lose an arm, I don't know. That's kind of more of a Star Wars thing. But we'll see what happens.
Maybe a little tribute to Star Wars, because the MCU does that. Everyone loses an arm at some point.
Yeah, Bucky and a whole bunch of other characters.
Yeah, Thor does in Thor 2.
Yeah.
So.
We'll see.
Yeah, it's interesting nods to that universe. And because this is truly the season of Star Wars, we've got a new Star Wars movie dropping in a month and a half,
Almost
2 months.
There, yep.
So close. We've got trailers dropping for that, lots of action figures dropping. And you and I were discussing before the podcast that we're in this mode of Star Wars.
Yeah.
There's so much content out there, and we're just trying to gobble it all up as fast as we can. All my focus is on Star Wars right now. And I have a tendency to go, and it's almost driven somewhat by the movies or big comic book events, and I kind of switch. It ebbs and flows a bit between Marvel and Star Wars, where my focused intensity is, and right now it's almost 100% on Star Wars.
Right, I completely agree with you right now. From the video games, like you said, the books, the movie on the way, and then Rebels that feeds my hunger every week. It's insane.
Yeah, it's so good. And we're going to take a moment here to pump our other podcast right now. So we have another podcast called Star Wars Rebels Alert. It airs every single Monday on the exact same feed you're listening to right now. And what we do is we recap and discuss each and every episode of Star Wars Rebels Season 3. We just finished Hera's Heroes, which was the 4th episode. And this season is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
And we don't have much bad things to say. I don't think anything at all.
No.
We were just gushing about this. With the inclusion of Thrawn, the development of the Ghost Crew, the Jedi stuff with Ezra and Kanan, this season is turning out to be one of the best seasons, if not the best season of Star Wars Rebels.
Yeah, it's found its footing. It's matured quite a bit. The animation keeps impressing me every episode. And yeah, we got Thrawn in there, right? I mean, you can't ask for much more.
And we continue to hit on the idea that Rebels is the glue that holds the Star Wars universe together. It ties in everything from the books to the comics to the movies, everything. It hints at everything, and it builds off of characters from the Clone Wars TV series, from the movies. It is an absolutely fantastic TV show.
Yeah.
I've never went back and watched Clone Wars, but I started off with Rebels Season 2, the back half of it.
Yes.
After watching that, I went back and watched the rest of the other 2 seasons, and I was fully on board for this Season 3.
Nice.
And I think that if you're even questioning whether or not you should get into this or not, just try Season 3.
Yep.
You won't have an idea of fully who the characters are, but you do have the ability to go back. So jump into that if you can.
Completely agree. My number one seller always to get people into this series is just watch the Season 2 trailer. Watch that trailer with Darth Vader appearing, and you're just instantly sold.
That's what got me.
Right?
That's what got me. Troy asked me about 10 times. He said, dude, just watch this once. We sat down and watched it. I was like, all right, now I have to go spend $80 on 2 series of Star Wars Rebels.
Yeah.
Because I had a hard time getting into it because I just never fully accepted the cartoons.
It's very cartoony at first, right?
Yeah, and even with the Clone Wars, because I didn't get into it right away, I watched the first movie, and I remember watching it, and I was like, this really isn't for me. I'm not really into the animation style right here, and I just really wasn't in a Star Wars frame of mind when that first came out. So I said, I'm not going to commit to this. And then when I did finally roll around and be like, okay, I want to revisit this, 125 episodes.
Right.
And I was like, that is a humongous time commitment.
It
Troy
is.
had to lose an organ.
Literally.
to get through Star Wars Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And now I'm thinking with the books and that are coming out, I'm going to have to go back and revisit this finally. Because Rebels was a fresh slate. It was a place you could jump into with not that many seasons into it. And I guess, again, I did get in second season, but at the same time, I didn't have many episodes to catch up on. There's a couple weekends worth of binge watching, which everyone does on Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
The barrier for entry for Rebels is really low. You have to have seen some of the Star Wars movies. You don't even have to see all of them.
That's true. And they're such short episodes, right? Yeah.
So, and they just released the next 3 episode titles. So by the end of this week, we'll have our 5th episode, which is titled The Last Battle.
Nice.
Looking forward to that. And the next following what looks like a week hiatus, we're going to have Imperial Super Commandos, Iron Squadron, and some word I can't pronounce.
Yeah, the Wakatu job?
Yeah,
I have no idea.
Job?
Yeah.
So this is why we rely on audiobooks
Exactly.
to pronounce these names. But it looks like we're going to have at least episodes or new episodes through to the end of November. And our podcast, which does discuss all of these episodes, you can catch it here on Podbean, iTunes, or over on our YouTube channel. And so leveraging off a bit of this Rebels talk, we discussed last week on our podcast the Ahsoka book by E.K. Johnson. It dropped last week. We've been running through it here. We're about 10 chapters in when we discussed it on Monday on our other podcast here. And what we expressed was that it wasn't exactly what we had expected to be. It was a lot slower.
Yes.
It was more character focused, and it was more singular story focused.
Yeah, very linear.
But once you get to chapter 13 in this book, it kicks off in a huge way.
It really does. You just got to hold on. Just keep reading. Just keep listening.
And just get through those first chapters. I think those first chapters, yes, they are slow. I enjoyed them. And it's all like Bloodlines, too.
Yeah.
It's slow at the start, but once you get into the characters, once you get into the book, it's really rewarding, both from a overall narrative perspective, as well as the development and the understanding you get from the characters that they're focusing in on here.
And the callbacks, right? That's what hooks me. Yeah.
And once you get beyond chapter 13, you do start to see more callbacks. You start to see the story expanding a lot more from just a really centralized individual story. And I can really appreciate what they're doing now. I'm really looking forward to it. I think there's about 10 chapters left.
Nice.
And I'm really looking forward to what they have coming down here. And this is an excellent book. It's a quick read.
Yep.
It's 400 pages long. It's about 6 or 7 hours.
7 hours,
audiobook, which is really doable compared to 15 to 20 hours for some of the other books. Yes.
Yeah.
But is it turning out the way you thought it would?
Yeah, it's awesome. I still have my Lords of the Sith at number 1, Lost Stars, and then Bloodlines. I don't have the Aftermath under my belt yet, so I put this underneath. But the books really start to pick up. I stuck with it. I'm on my hunt now for an Ahsoka Black series. So anyone out there listening, hit me with a link and I'll be sure to pick that up. But yeah, this book's really doing it for me. They've pulled on a lot of strings from Clone Wars, and obviously not Rebels, because this book does take place before Rebels. But you just get such a good understanding of this character, Ahsoka, even more so. I know a lot of people were kind of hesitant on this character going off of the Clone Wars movie, and even a little bit in the earlier seasons of Clone Wars, but you stick through it, and you really appreciate her for what she is.
Yeah, and my appreciation for Ahsoka is coming from Rebels,
yes,
from season 2. Because never watching Clone Wars, I knew who the character was, and I always saw her as this preteen, a little bit annoying.
Yeah.
Always curious why they stuck another child character into that universe, because
right,
it didn't work super well in Phantom Menace.
No.
That adolescent age where you do have a bit more whiny, questioning, rebelling against authority type.
Yeah.
And this really worked for me in Rebels Season 2 with Ahsoka.
Oh, yeah.
And this book is much more of a reflection of that Ahsoka than it is a Clone Wars younger Ahsoka.
Yeah, because she's really matured. This is really when you get to see her growth in this book, and then obviously you see the final product in Rebels.
High recommend this book right now, and not having the appreciation for Clone Wars, I feel I am slightly missing out a bit.
Right.
But I do have Troy here kind of feeding me some of the information. And there are really cool ties to Rebels as well. They're referencing characters and concepts that are explored in Rebels. So it's nice to see, we have our animation, books, animation all tying in together.
Yeah. You really get a good sense of the Jedi's that have made it out of Order 66 that are really on the low. You know, you
Yeah.
really get that understanding of how risky it is to be a Jedi.
It's an interesting exploratory book on the post-Order 66 and what the Jedis had to do to survive.
Yes.
And also you get an idea of they didn't know each other were alive, right?
Exactly.
They couldn't sense each other anymore, and that's the whole thing that's explored in the book as well. Is you get an understanding of what the universe was like post-Order 66, which is something that hasn't been explored really, with the exception of some of the stuff in Rebels. You get from Kanan and Ezra and that, you get that concept and idea about the Inquisitors, but this is early days.
Yes.
And the building and the expansiveness of the Empire post-Order 66 into the Outer Rim, into the core, everywhere, expanding out into these worlds, and again, leveraging people as slaves. You're looking at stuff that happens on Kashyyyk in other books, but that same concept about using their natural resources, and this is a huge point in this book as well.
Great stuff.
And The Force Awakens, so it was almost a year ago that we got our first entry into the Star Wars cinematic universe in almost a decade.
Yeah.
And this thing popped off huge. We got a beautiful steelbook that came out of this with some nice commentary and features, as well as some deleted scenes.
Yes.
And guess what? Disney's hitting the collector right home again, right? We have a collector's edition of The Force Awakens dropping here, I believe, on November 15th. It is a 3D edition.
Okay.
So for those of you that are still subscribing to that type of visual media, I have a 3D TV. I watched it for 1 hour 5 years ago.
It's funny that they went that route as opposed to 4K. Like, do we know if this supports 4K, this one?
I don't know. I can't see them not doing 4K. That would seem like a silly option. Or they're just doing a 3D version, and then they'll do a 4D version or 4K version.
Yeah. Nothing they've never really done before with the previous special editions, right? Star Wars always kind of milks those editions.
Yes, and you expressed a little bit of disappointment with the idea that the bonus features on here were really good, but they weren't what they were for the prequels.
Really, yeah, that's right. Completely agree, yeah.
So this one is leveraging a bit off of that, and they're giving you a full commentary by J.J. Abrams, which wasn't done before. And they have some stuff on the sound. There are a few deleted scenes. There's some of the costume work and some small featurettes with John Boyega and Rey. Or Daisy Ridley, I should say. And also the same bonus features that were on the original released Blu-ray. So they're filling this out a bit. And again, they're giving us some of the deleted scenes already. And I'm going to say, spoiler alert, for those of you that are waiting for this to come out, it's all over the internet now, so go check it out on YouTube, or EW, I think, were the first ones to release it. But it was a quick scene. It was in Mace Katana's castle there, or the bar, cantina, whatever you want to call it. And it's between Rey and Unkar Plutt.
Right.
So Unkar Plutt shows up in Mace Katana's castle, approaches Rey for stealing the Millennium Falcon and causing all the chaos, and then we see Chewbacca intervene here. And apparently, I haven't read the novelization, so the cool thing about the novelization of these movies is usually they're done off of the first script before they start to cut things, and certain scenes are put back into the novelization, or at least present, and this scene is one of the ones that's in the novelization, and Chewbacca actually rips off Unkar Plutt's arms.
Nice.
In that. So, very much a Wookiee thing to do.
Right, that's his move.
So we talk a lot about these extended cuts and these deleted scenes and that, and this, again, I think really hits home for me at least, why I don't like deleted scenes put back into the movie. One, this isn't finished.
Yeah.
And two, this has big implications for that character in particular, right?
Yeah.
It makes Chewbacca look a little more aggressive. It also removes basically Unkar Plutt more or less from the storyline. I don't know if they're ever going to leverage him again. You do see him with Rey holding her hand when she's dropped off.
The flashback scene,
yeah,
right?
in the flashback scene.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he's going to have any more scenes in the movies, or if he has any character development to be done. Simon Pegg plays them.
That's right, yeah.
So again, this is why I don't like these deleted scenes put back in, because it essentially puts them into canon. So I would assume that these deleted scenes, because they're not included in the movie, they're not canon, so this character is just left on jeopardy.
I think so.
And so with this audio commentary with J.J. Abrams, there's a particular scene that they released, and it was what's called the scene, the death of Han Solo. And they released the clip of him talking over that, giving the commentary at that point when Kylo Ren decides to kill Han Solo. Spoilers, if you haven't seen The Force Awakens. Everyone on the planet saw it, so I don't feel I need to say that. But anyways, I've already spoiled it for you if you had listened to that point. But anyways, he talks over it about the idea that when Ben, Kylo Ren, is struggling with the idea about being pulled between the light and the dark, he described it that Ben is actually thinking about relinquishing himself to the light and going to Han Solo. Where I always took that scene as he was struggling so much with the light and the dark that he needed a way to remove the light from his life.
Okay,
and when he says, "Thank you for doing this." I can't remember his exact words, I'm paraphrasing a bit, but when you listen to it, I think the first time you think he's going to say, "Thank you for giving me the strength to overcome the darkness." Where I think he's thanking Han for coming to him and allowing him to kill him.
Right.
And he's saying, now I can finally feel free of the light, and I can go fully towards the dark. J.J. Abrams kind of interpreted it the other way, which is interesting.
Oh, okay. Yeah, see, I thought most the common thought there is what you had. Basically, to remove Han Solo, that was the only thing that's kind of blocking his darkness, right?
His path to the full dark side.
Exactly, yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I don't really listen to the commentary on a lot of movies, but this one is one that I might tune into, because there's a lot of ideas and concepts that I think J.J. Abrams might express in this. I don't know how deep he'll go into it, because there could be spoiler territory here.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's involved in the production of 8 and 9, and at least the story with Lawrence Kasdan and that. So I'm interested to see a bit more of what he has to say about some of the character developments in this and why he chose to do certain things over another. And I think that will be something that I may look into, but I'm probably not going to buy this.
Yeah, I think I'm going to skip. I think with these movies, when they come out, I'll buy the first time release. Then after the trilogy's done, I'll get the whole big box set, but I'm not going to buy the movie twice and then buy the whole big box set,
I fall into that with the MCU movies. I own I think I own Captain America 1 2 or 3 times. I bought in when it first came out, and then I bought the, the Tesseract case when it came out.
Phase 1?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they didn't come with digital copies, so I had to buy it on digital because I wanted it on. So I think I owned First Avenger 3 times.
Right.
Same with Star Wars, though. I own it on VHS twice, Blu-ray, DVD, and I'm going to probably own it on 4K at some point here, too.
Disney.
In just 2 months' time, we get Rogue One coming out here. And they released the final trailer this past week. I don't watch the trailers anymore. I've stayed far away from this.
Yeah.
But Troy has volunteered himself, or I've volunteered him, to give very much a spoiler-free, high-level thoughts on this. So my wife also watched this, and Troy's wife watched this too. And so it's giving an outsider's perspective. Can you give us just a quick high level, not spoiling anything? What are your thoughts on this? What does this trailer do for you?
Just raises the bar that much more.
Yeah.
I think I told you this beforehand. I had this trailer on par with the Force Awakens trailer. Obviously, the Force Awakens trailer has anticipation behind it. I think you mentioned 10 years apart from Episode 3. But this trailer, visually stunning.
Yeah.
Visually stunning. It's great. We get to see a little bit more of a certain somebody. I don't think I'll go into that. I think you can all kind of piece that together. Doesn't say much throughout the trailer, though. Jyn Erso is actually a cool aspect, though, in this trailer, because you get more of a feel for her. She's kind of a little one note in the first trailer, which wasn't too bad because it worked for that trailer. But this time, you get more of like a leader role, and you kind of get to see where she's kind of come from and where she is in the movie. Present time, you do get a little bit of flashbacks, which is cool. So we do know that they will be going that route in the movie. But some really great shots, especially, I think it's all over Facebook. You saw this shot of the fallen Jedi statue / temple.
Yeah.
Like, it's a great looking statue. And we'll probably hear about it in a book sometime. I'm pretty sure that must take place on the planet Jeddah.
Yeah.
Right, so it must take place there. Donnie Yen just does some little things, and I think he's going to be my character in this movie. Like, he's great, this guy. So, yeah, I mean, if you guys can do what Tim does, I salute you guys, because it's hard for me to not watch this trailer. Yeah. Well,
it's ridiculous because we're sitting watching the Blue Jay game last night, and there's Doctor Strange trailers popping up, Rogue One trailers popping up. I put a pillow in my face, and I look at my wife, and she just does this la 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 la, like she blocks it out for me. And this is something, we had a friend over, and he's going like, "What is happening? Like, what are you two doing?" And as she's doing, I'm watching her face, and she's just loving it. And I asked her, I said, "What's the aspect of Rogue One that's drawing you in?" And she says, "I know the characters, but visually this thing looks beautiful."
Yes.
And she has no idea what's going on in the story and all that, but she says this is just drawn her in. Same as Doctor Strange. It's a lot of the visuals, a lot of the camera work.
Yeah.
It just looks stunning.
It looks so stunning, and it's probably like the best looking Star Wars we've seen. It's so different too, but it also feels right at home with Rebels and A New Hope. It just ties it all together. You still get that atmosphere of like the futuristic but grungy, kind of beat up, rusty look of ships and droids.
Used universe.
Yeah. So it's great stuff. I can't wait.
I don't know how I'm going to hold out here. Like there's been like little clips, and every time you go on Facebook or onto any sort of social media page, this thing is there. It's popped up. People from every sort of news outlets are reporting on this and saying, "Look, we got the new Rogue One, the final Rogue One trailer," and people are just losing their minds. I do not know why anyone ever doubted this.
Yeah.
Because when you hear about these trailers, again, I haven't watched them, but there's nothing in there that makes you question what they've done, is there?
No, and that's the cool thing with this trailer. It just silenced everybody. You don't hear anything now about these reshoots, this and that. Like, that negativity's gone completely. It's all positive vibes once again. It's been restored.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Love to hear that.
Yeah, it's great
and they
stuff.
released some really cool character posters and also the final poster for Rogue One. And I got it here sitting between us. This is a classic Star Wars clip art, mashed together Photoshop poster. But it looks beautiful.
It's incredible, and it's still bright and vibrant at the same time, with some darkness obviously leaning more towards the top right corner there.
Yeah. We're looking at more or less the clip art with all the characters. Jyn Erso's big, you got the Death Star in the background, and the most subtle part is the top right hand corner. You got Vader fading into the Death Star. And this poster is going on my wall. I don't care how much this thing costs. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Beautiful contrast between top and bottom.
Right.
They've got 7 of these character posters, so 6 Rebels plus Director Krennic, and they're just the images of their faces with the Death Star plans projected onto their face. And I think it's such a cool way to depict the characters, individual character posters. This is something very similar that we got with Force Awakens, and you do see this a lot with other movies like Avengers, where you get individualized character posters. And these are beautiful. The colors in here are great. It's like kind of blue, dark, gray.
With a hint of the red. With the red logo, of the Rebellion.
Exactly. And just what they're doing with this, I think a lot of it stylistically is something that's going to really be one of the important pieces and one of the draw pieces to this movie. Not only because it's a Star Wars movie, but because it looks like a Star Wars movie, but it looks different.
It looks inviting, too. So it's like, if you haven't watched the Star Wars movies, come watch this. Because I feel this is going to get a lot of people that don't really necessarily watch Star Wars. And at the same time, it's a good jumping point. Yeah. Right? You can go into this, and then you can go all the way to New Hope and what have you.
Well, that's the thing with this movie, too. There's a low barrier for entry. You don't need to know much, right?
Yes.
It's not like you're jumping into a Rebels or a Clone Wars or into even the original trilogy, into an Empire. And that, like, a lot of these movies were meant to be serialized so that you could jump into the story at any point. And yes, with A New Hope, you're jumping into the middle of a much bigger story. But at the same time, I agree with you. This looks inviting. It does have a low barrier for entry. And yeah, I think this is going to be a lot bigger than people are giving it credit for right now. Like, even the head of Disney came out and said, this is an experiment. This is different. We're trying something. This isn't going to be Force Awakens. I think if nothing else, this is probably going to be one of the best Star Wars movies that's ever been put on screen. I'm predicting that right now. I may eat my words later, but I think this is going to be up there with some of the best.
I definitely agree. I got nothing to go off of this, but just looking back at those character posters, if you could say anyone is going to make it out of this film, who would you guess? I mean, obviously, we haven't seen the movie. You haven't even seen the trailer. But if you could guess anyone was going to make it out of this movie alive, who would it be?
Well, I think Jin's going to make it out of this movie.
Okay,
I think K2SO is going to make it out of this movie, and possibly Cassian Andor. I think the rest of the Rebels, I think Saw Gerrera is going to bite it. I think a couple of these, Donnie Yen, I think is going to bite it. And there's a few other characters that may make it out, but I think you're going to see a lot of deaths in this movie.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think they have to do that to make the Empire feel powerful. I don't think you can go down the route of the success that they had at the Battle of Yavin or at the Battle of Endor. This has to be a low point for the rebellion, I think. Like, getting these plans are important, and you see the success of that later on in the series, but I think they're going to have to go through some pretty big hardships. And I think we're going to see that too in Rebels at some point. We have to see the Rebel being set back, because as they build the Empire in the Ahsoka book, as they're building it in Rebels, as they've built it in some of the other novelizations in the comic books, this is a powerful force, a relentless force, and they need to demonstrate that, and this is the movie to do that.
Exactly. And we have faces to put behind the plans now, right?
Exactly. And continuing with some of the other Star Wars news here, Ewan McGregor, he's been out petitioning for an Obi Wan movie, even mentioning that he'd like to see a 2-part Obi Wan movie. And this is something that both of us are very much so behind. I love Ewan McGregor. I think he's one of the highlights of the prequels.
Hands down.
His portrayal of Obi-Wan. But do you think with the recent comic book series and these every 5 or 10 issues where you get a story from the Journal of Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Star Wars mainstay ongoing series at Marvel, do you think it handcuffs them a bit for an Obi-Wan movie? At least an Obi-Wan movie that happens post-Order 66 and before A New Hope?
You know what? A little bit, but the thing is, there's so much time because he's basically on that planet for about 18 years. So there's so much story to tell. We still don't know the fate of Maul, so we don't know if those two will encounter each other. I mean, it looks like it's leading up to that off of Rebels. So we just don't know. I think what also kind of handcuffs it for now is the success of the first anthology film. I think maybe that's why they kind of been quiet, because we don't know how well Rogue One's going to do. Obviously, it's probably going to do pretty well, but it's the first standalone, independent kind of Star Wars film. So I think they have a lot right on that, and also with the Han Solo, because Han Solo is going to be the first kind of standalone film on a character that we all know. So I think those two kind of have a little bit of input in towards what's going to happen with Ewan McGregor's movie. But if they do the movie, without a doubt, they're going to go through him. They're definitely going to bring him on. He's at the right age. I think he said he's about 45 now.
It's getting close to that right age.
Yeah, which would just make sense. And you know, go back and read these Star Wars comics, because these journals, I think issues 7 and 14, and another one coming up that's going to explain a little bit of Yoda's story.
Yeah.
These are like must-read comic issues, right? So I think we are going to get a movie. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah. And I have to agree with you on 2 points there. One, that I think Han Solo is more the linchpin for the concept of individualized stories in the anthology movies. If that can work, it can demonstrate that you don't need an ensemble cast that does have an appearance of a Vader or some concept that we're really familiar with the Death Star.
Yeah.
If that's successful, I think they'll move forward more with an Obi Wan Kenobi movie.
Right.
And also hitting off with the Han Solo movie, there's rumors that they're casting a certain female, which is directly out of the comic book series.
Okay.
Sana Solo.
Right, the first wife.
Yes.
Right?
Wife in air quotes here.
I think, is the actress that was in Creed, is she up for the role?
Yeah, that's her.
Nice.
People are speculating this period on her ethnicity, right? And whether it's not right to do or not, it's whatever. But it'd be interesting to see if they actually leverage a character that was first introduced in a comic book series.
Yeah.
In one of the anthology movies.
That'd be pretty cool, because I know a lot of people were kind of worried at first, like, wait a second, Han Solo was married and yada yada yada, but as the comic develops, you're kind of like, okay. And I think she's kind of developed into a not necessarily a fan favorite, but a lot of the comic fans out there like her.
And the other point you made about Darth Maul, we speculated a bit based off of what's going on in Rebels right now, that we may see that battle come to fruition in that series. But if they could hold off and leave that until a live action, that would be the way to go.
Right.
Yeah, I think it'd just be absolutely incredible, and a great way to top off an Obi-Wan story is to kind of more or less finish how he started.
Well, exactly. They both met each other on Tatooine in the first place, right? So how cool would it be to finish that battle on Tatooine?
It'd be just fantastic.
Yeah.
And stepping over now into the comic book series. So we're both avid readers of all of the series that are coming out. We've got Star Wars, Vader series just ended. The Poe Dameron series is fantastic.
Is it an ongoing, that one, I guess?
Poe?
Yeah. Okay.
Poe and Star Wars are the only ongoings right now. There's Han Solo, which is again a miniseries. They've been doing a lot of these miniseries. They had a Lando, a Princess Leia, Obi-Wan and Anakin, Kanan. So they've had a lot of these series, and I think they really benefit from being shorter stories because they're not committing themselves to a massive amount of content, right? It's something that you can get through in a couple trades if you don't want to go back and collect the single issues, which I've done with some of them, the Leia book and the Chewbacca book. But I like that they're not dragging these on. And one thing that we're really shocked about was the fact that this Darth Vader book ended with issue number 25 that dropped last week on New Comic Book Day. And what we thought we'd do here is just briefly talk about that series, more or less focusing in on the end. We have discussed in previous podcasts about Vader Down, a few of the other issues that have gone through here. But what's your overall feel for this Darth Vader book coming to an end? Were you satisfied with the series as a whole to begin with?
As a whole, I'd say so. This book definitely has its highs and lows. The animation's one of, or not the animation, the illustration, the art is one of them. It's pretty up and down, right? Vader Down was a great run, a miniseries throughout that book, and Star Wars. But overall, I was satisfied. It stayed very true to Vader, and I liked seeing his motivations, and I liked seeing him work outside of the Empire, but still being inside the Empire. And we got some pretty cool characters, some two neat droids out of this book, and Dr. Aphra, which she's interesting. Yeah,
I'd have to agree. It's a series I think that really focused in on developing Darth Vader, and really developing that legacy of darkness that he has, right? That he is a Dark Lord of the Sith. And he'll go to any extent to either destroy the rebels or get what he wants.
And find Luke.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
And I really do, I also do like with this book is how it also does show that he does think about his past. Like you do see him encounter those little moments. Right?
Yeah. So we're going to say spoilers here for the last 5-10 issues of Vader, more or less the whole series, but we're going to be focusing in here basically in the last 4 or 5 issues. And just hitting on that point you're talking about him thinking about the past, issue 24, it was a slow issue, but it really made you think about the transition of Anakin to Darth Vader. It didn't really occur until this point in time. It's beautifully written. there's a really interesting battle that goes on in Vader's head
Right.
between Anakin and Obi-Wan, between Anakin and Darth Vader himself,
Yes.
which is really cool. It finally sees almost that relinquishment of Anakin Skywalker, and I really like how they did that. And the portrayal of Darth Vader, I think, is spot on. I haven't read Lords of the Sith yet, but this shows Vader and shows why people are afraid of him.
Yeah.
Because he's relentless, even with his fellow Imperials, right? Anyone messes up, anyone screws up, they're dead.
Yeah, and it really clears up some things going on between episode 4 and 5 with his colleagues, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so the way this ends is interesting because this book and the Star Wars comic book are more or less companion books. They supplement each other. They're basically happening at the exact same time.
Yes.
I don't know if they accelerated the end of this because it ends more or less, I think at least, at Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
We get Vader acquiring the Executor, which is the Super Star Destroyer, which makes its first appearance in Empire.
Yeah.
And we get the introduction of Admiral Onsel, as well as Admiral Piet, who is an Admiral Piet at this point.
Right.
And so we have the whole setup, and even the last splash page is Vader looking out of the Executor window, the same way he's introduced right at the start of Empire.
Right, yeah.
It's just so well done. And this series, I think it's a must for Star Wars readers. I think both of them, the Star Wars and the Vader, if you want to ignore everything else, I say with the exception of the Poe book, you can do this whole series on its own, but you need that Star Wars book.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at understanding a bit more of why Vader has this reputation in the films, this book really helps it with. If you're staying away from the novels, from Lords of the Sith and that, this book really gives you an idea of why Vader is the person he is and why he has that reputation.
Yeah.
This test that the Emperor is putting to Vader and blaming the downfall of the first Death Star on him.
Yeah.
And it's just how they integrate these characters from the films. It makes you feel like, again, that they care about these characters.
Yeah.
And that they are really trying to make something that represents the character not only from a narrative perspective, but also from a developmental. Like, they're actually developing these characters and making them fit better into the universe.
Yeah, and the relationship they established between Vader and Palpatine, Sidious, goes back even to Lords of the Sith, but it's so great because it stays very true to the rule of two, the Lords of the Sith themselves. They don't really try to go away from that, and he's constantly testing Vader, you know, from the books and into this comic. It carries right through, so it's always good to see that.
Yeah. And they explore that idea, the rule of two, in this comic book a bit, and they do in Lords of the Sith as well. This idea that they're battling one another, they're battling the Jedi, and it's only two of them. But they always seem to be planning something else. And this is an idea that's seeded right through this comic book, is Vader's looking for another apprentice, and Palpatine's looking for another apprentice, right? There's never that trust between a master and apprentice.
Exactly.
They're always trying to build more off this rule of two, which means one of the two of them has to die.
That's just it. And Palpatine, because he's the master, he's not doing his job properly if Vader doesn't want to take his spot.
Yeah.
Right? And he's always constantly challenged Vader to do that and step that much further, right?
Yeah.
Love it.
Makes you feel that Palpatine's a bit more of a genius, because sometimes you get that portrayal, I think even in the prequels a bit, that yes, it was a long game, yes, it was a plan that came to fruition, but this really hits home that he is a evil genius, more or less, right?
Yes.
And spinning out of this comic book is, again, one of the fan favorites, and you mentioned her, Dr. Aphra. She's getting her own ongoing series.
Yeah.
Which is cool on two prongs. One, it's the first character that was introduced in the comic book, not from the original films or TV, that's getting our own ongoing series. And two, it is more or less this anti-hero Indiana Jones
Han
type.
Solo,
like it's a really interesting character. And the fact that it's female-led too is really interesting. And also her crew. She basically has an evil C-3PO, an evil R2, and an evil Chewie that are kicking around with her. Her squad, right, is these evil doppelgangers of characters that you're really familiar with.
That's right. So they're not locked to anything, right? You can do whatever you want with these characters.
Exactly, and because they're in a New Hope to Empire Strikes Back time frame, again, they can do anything. They can encounter characters that maybe get a bit of screen time in some of the films. I think that they're going to explore all sorts of cool ideas that they couldn't have Luke or Han or Leia do, because that has implications for the movies and for these characters. They can explore the universe with her, right?
Yeah.
No constraints. I love that. It's a great point.
Are you picking this book up for sure?
Definitely. I'll definitely get into it. I usually give these books 2 or 3 issues, and if they don't really hook me on here, I'll go to the trade. And that's what I did with the Chewbacca book and a few of the others. So right now I'm reading Star Wars, No Longer Vader, Han Solo, and Poe.
That's right.
and I've gone back and picked up the trade for Obi Wan and Anakin. Haven't got into it yet, but it's something I want to keep up with. And because they're usually 6-issue to 12-issue miniseries, they're more or less easy to pick up and trade or keep up with, so you can come back and supplement the different eras in that.
Nice.
And Charles Soy's doing a great job on Poe, and he did Lando and Obi Wan and Anakin,
Daredevil, all that stuff. He's a genius. I'm probably like you. I'll test the waters with that book a little bit. I am going back to Kanan, the last Padawan.
I'm going to revisit that as well.
It's pretty solid. I'm about 4 issues in, and it's pretty great. A part of me kind of wishes they committed to killing her off. But because the way Vader did it, she's like, I asked for the blade, I asked for the lightsaber, but he knew this would be far worse. So, and it just adds more depth to this character of how cold and how far gone he is from Anakin. Right,
and that's so true, because this is a character that throughout this, I think she was first introduced in issue 3 or something like that. And this character has helped them through it. She's tried to be a companion to Vader, and he relentlessly at the end just kills her. Or tries to kill her. The airlock, it's beautifully done.
Right, yeah.
So, I'm really looking forward to this. I think it's going to be, like you said, an interesting exploratory book of the Star Wars universe. And because of the lack of constraints, it can go anywhere. Right. We're probably going to see Fett show up in this, maybe the Hutts, exploring some of those ideas, those concepts a bit more. And understanding this used universe more. The books always do a great job of showing the different corners of the Star Wars universe that you don't have time for in the films. I think this comic book, because, like you said, it doesn't have the constraints, is going to be able to do that more.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to that aspect of it. For sure. And if you aren't reading the Star Wars comic books, you get into them. Like, they're a easy way to supplement and bring you up to speed on some of the characters and help you understand a little more motivations. And it develops this idea of what's going on between the movies as well. We're never going to get a movie, I don't think, at least. Maybe they'll run out of ideas someday. But between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, which these comics take place in. I'm looking forward to maybe someday at a series that takes place between Empire and Return of the Jedi.
Yes.
But they do these mini-series. They've done one on Lando, Chewbacca, Leia. They focus on these characters and develop their backstories a bit more, so you understand the characters a bit better. And again, they're leveraged in other media, in Rebels, in the novels. They do reference these comic books. So this is a whole all-encompassing story. And I think it really benefits from having some of these come out once a month, right? And it's not too much of an expense. So if you can branch out to that, if you're not interested in the novels, I think this is another way outside of the visual media that is TV or film that you can get more Star Wars.
For sure. More Easter eggs. Why not?
Yes, exactly. And just to finish off here, how is the collecting going lately?
Collecting's going good, actually. Just today, I've taken that much more of a step further into my customization of an Anakin Skywalker Black Series. So I got the head mold going on. My Star Wars collection game isn't quite on par with Tim's yet, but it's a slow burn, right? But yeah, my collection's been good. I'm not diving into anything else but the Black Series. So Force Friday, if you check out a couple episodes back, that was a huge hit. It turned out pretty good for us. And just looking forward to more Black Series coming out.
Yeah, hopefully get those in the next couple of weeks, or at least before Christmas time. I'm assuming we'll see some of these waves starting to hit. I've just jumped recently back into the Funko Pops. I picked up a C2B5 and a Director Krennic from the Rogue One line. Finding them again at EB Games. They're about $4 cheaper than you're getting them at Hot Topic, at other stores like your local comic book shop and that. I still go and support your local comic book shop once in a while, but if you're looking for something that's a bit cheaper on the pop side, hit up EB Games, or I think it's called GameStop in the States. So you do get them for about $12 Canadian, so about $10 American. And also picked up the Ahsoka Hot Topic exclusive.
You have to. With reading the book right now, why not?
There's a lot of Ahsoka going on. And other than that, I think it's just waiting out some of these 3 3/4 inch series. Still looking for that Sabine, and again waiting on the Black series. I've held off on the rest of the Elite series. If you remember from the Force Friday discussion that we had a couple weeks ago, we talked about the idea that I've held off on some of these. I'm waiting to understand the characters, and that's particularly more the Rebel contingency that I'm waiting off on.
That's right.
And so the Death Trooper and K2SO, they're showing back up on websites. And for those of you that weren't able to get those characters on Force Friday, wait it out, guys. Wait out that Sabine in 3 3/4 inch. It's gonna come. Don't go paying scalpers right yet. Same thing we saw with Force Awakens. Phasma is a perfect example of this. Is if you waited out long enough, now you can find her literally at any Walmart in the city.
Yeah, that's true. How about your anticipation list? You got anything going on for the Black series? What are you most excited for?
I'm really looking at this Director Krennic. I'd like him in Black series form. And I don't know if I'm going to leap into a hot toy here. I've been playing with the idea of if I drop something else or hold off on something like the Legos, which I'd like to get into as well.
Yep.
I'm literally looking at the TIE Striker Lego. I think that's going to be my first pickup here. But I'm curious if, and it's going to wait until, and this might be too late with the Hot Toys, but I'm going to wait till I see the movie before I pull the trigger on it.
Okay.
I'm looking at this Death Trooper. I'm looking at K2SO because of how well the K2SO Elite series came out. I'm curious if they're going to get into a Hot Toy that looks as good. I don't know if this is the right way to go with it, if this is the right movie to jump into, or if I step back and maybe look back at getting something a bit older. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I want to go down this path.
That's a dark path.
So, yeah, collecting's looking great.
Yeah.
I've almost got our new studio set up, which we'll be recording in hopefully next week.
Yeah.
And we'll have throw some images up on Twitter to show you guys what I've done more recently after the big move and having to condense the collection a bit and just have out the important things and more recent stuff.
Good
so
stuff.
I'm looking forward to getting that out there.
Yeah.
Well, that about wraps it up for us here, and that's a big day of Star Wars talk. And looking forward to always talking more Star Wars as we continue down the road here. In the next couple of weeks, we're going to be doing a horror episode next week that Sanjay is going to lead. And so, again, I'm not a big horror guy. Don't like having the shit scared out of me or anything like that.
But it is the month for it.
Yes,
October,
it is.
Halloween.
And then we're going to be doing a Doctor Strange in comics and film episode where we're going to run down some of the important comic book stories of Doctor Strange so you guys get an idea or feel for the character before going into the movie. And then we'll have our big Doctor Strange review.
Looking good.
In a couple
Looking
weeks here.
good.
3 weeks here. So we're looking like we got a busy month. We will eventually get to the Luke Cage review. And I apologize for that being so delayed, but that's going to come down the pipe at some point here. I've started watching it. Fantastic.
Nice.
Loving it.
Where are you at right now?
Episode 3.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Sweet Christmas.
Yes, sweet Christmas indeed. If you guys would like to be part of the show, be involved in the community that we're trying to build around the Nerd Room, as well as our other podcast, Star Wars Ripple Alert, you can always get us on Twitter. Our handles are at the end of the episode. You can always hit us up at hashtag Into the Nerd Room. We're on Facebook. We are on YouTube for both our Star Wars Rebels Alert and Nerd Room podcasts. Just search the Nerd Room podcast on YouTube. You can find our videos there. They're right now static image with the commentary over top of it, but we're looking at jumping into maybe more videos and animating some of these down the road. We're looking at expanding the Nerd Room always.
Yep.
And this is an avenue that I think we're going to go down here.
Yeah, and just communicating with you guys. We'd love to hear your predictions, your questions, any way we could talk to you with you guys. We'd always love to do it. Absolutely.
Yes. More listener involvement is exactly what we're looking for. We want to build, like I said, a community. We want to discuss Star Wars with you guys. We're here every week discussing some form of Star Wars or some form of nerd. We'd like to include you in that conversation.
Always.
All right, Troy, it's been an absolute pleasure talking Star Wars.
Always.
For the Nerd Room, I'm Tim.
I'm Troy.
And thank you for entering the Nerd Room. Star Wars. Star Wars. We are out. Don't forget to subscribe and rate and review us on iTunes. You can find our hosts Tim, Sunday, and Troy on Twitter at the NerdRM, 1912 Podcasting, and Troy, the Boy, 87.